Good morning, students. Today, in this video of chapter 8, Peasants, Zamindars and the State, we will discuss the following these three main points. Number 1, condition of village artisans in the 16th and 17th century. Second, condition and role of women in agrarian society in the 16th and 17th century. And third one, problems in using the inn as a source for reconstructing agrarian history, and historians deal with this situation. So now let us start with our first topic, that is concerned with the village artisans. Dear students, the condition of village artisans was very poor, as we will see from the following points. Number 1, there were substantial number of artisans in villages. It was sometimes as high as 25% of the total households in the villages. Second, the distinction between artisans and peasants was a very fluid one, because many people performed both the tasks. That is why we find that cultivators participated in craft production, such as performing the activities of dyeing, textile, printing, baking of pottery, making and repairing agricultural implements. So in this way, the agriculturists were also involved in these activities. They did this work between weeding and harvesting period. Thereafter, we have village artisans, potters, blacksmiths, carpenters, barbers, and goldsmiths. They provide specialized services. They were paid by giving them a share of the harvest or an allotment of land. In Maharashtra, such lands became the artisans' miras or watan, their hereditary holding. So we find that the village artisans were dependent on the farmers in one way or the other who do not have any land. Then we have third one, sometimes remunerations were paid in cash too, but generally it was from the part of the agricultural produce which they get after the end of their harvesting season. And from that season, the village artisans get their share as the amount for their services. And finally, sometimes artisans and individual peasant households entered into a mutual agreement also, where peasants or zamindars remunerated blacksmiths, carpenters, or goldsmiths by paying them a small daily allowance and diet money. This was known as Jajmani system. So in this way, we find that the village artisans was directly or indirectly depends on the village farmers, and they have no other source of income. Now we are going to discuss second question, that is condition and role of women in agrarian society in the 16th and 17th century. Now, dear students, here we will explain the condition with reference to the fields or the activities they do for earning income, and they supplement their family by those income. So that portion we will study here. Here the conditions and the role of women in the agrarian society will be further discussed into the following main points. Number 1, men and women worked shoulder to shoulder in the fields. Men tilled and plowed, while women sowed, weeded, thrashed, and winnowed the harvest. This is the first work the women do at fields. Then second is, there were biases related to women's biological function. For example, menstruating women were not allowed to touch the plough or potter's wheel in Western India or enter groves where the betel leaves were grown in Bengal. So, in different uh, parts of the country, we find the different conditions of the women. Then, artisanal work, that is the work of pottery, work of painting, textile, dyeing, etc., were also done by the women, and they were given a salary or some cash amount in this regard also. They were regarded as an important part of the society because they were child bearers in a society dependent on labor. Then, high mortality rate among women due to their physical conditions. Frequent pregnancies also led to shortage of women. As a result of it, marriages in many rural communities required the payment of bride price rather than dowry to the bride's family. So, in this way, we find that the different customs, the different religious activities were also there in the different parts of the country, depending upon the situations as well as the needs of the family. Then, remarriage was also considered legitimate both among divorced and widowed women. Then, due to the importance of women as a part of a society, they were kept under the strict control by the male members of the family and the community. Then, finally, the among the landed gentry, women enjoyed the right to inherit property. So, this was the role as well as the rights of women in agrarian society in the 16th and 17th century. Then we will now discuss the last section of this module, that is the problems in using the ain. Ain is Aine-Akbaris, which is in short known as ain, as a source for reconstructing agrarian history. Then how the historians deal with this situation. We will discuss this thing in detail here. Number one was the problems when we use Aine-Akbari as a historical document. Number one, the Aine-Akbari was revised 5 times by the author so that it might become authentic. In all the quantitative sections, all numeric data was reproduced in words so as to minimize the chances of errors. But in spite of this, there are following problems in using Aine-Akbari as a source for reconstructing agrarian society. Now here we will discuss the main problems or the main reasons why this textbook Aine-Akbari is not regarded as a historical relevance. Because of the following reasons we will discuss in detail now. Number one is numerous errors in totaling have been detected. कि जब total करते थे, we have certain errors we have find there, and these are ascribed to simple slips of arithmetic or of transcription by Abul Fazl's assistants. Then number two, another problem is about the somewhat skewed nature of quantitative data. Data was not collected uniformly from all provenances. For example, detailed information about caste composition of the Zamindars was collected from many subas. However, such information is not available for Bengal and Orissa. Third, prices and wages that have been documented in this book pertains to areas in or around Delhi or Agra and neglected the other places. For example, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Rajasthan were not included in these texts of Aine-Akbari. Then finally, we find that the historians have a very difficult time to cover the revolts of the Mughal state, because during that period there were revolts in Mughal states also, and there is no description of those revolts in Ain Akbari. Thus, whatever we learn about the peasants from the Ain Akbari remains a view from the top or the brass layer of Mughal uh, areas only. Now we come to the point that how the historians deal with this situation. Extremely simple. The historians deal with the above problems by supplementing the descriptions contained in sources emanating from regions away from the Mughal capital. For example, revenue records from Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan from the 17th and 18th century used for the elaboration of the condition of peasants, Zamindars at that time. Then secondly, the extensive records of the East India Company also provide a useful description of the agrarian relations in Eastern India. These sources describe the examples of conflicts between the peasants, Zamindars, and the sultanates. These provide an insight into peasants' perception of uh, kings and their expectations of fairness from the Mughal rulers. So in this way, we will discuss the problems in using the Ain Akbari as a source for reconstructing agrarian society, and how the historians were able to deal with this situation. I hope you will go through these three main points of this chapter and learn many more from your textbook also. Thank you very much. Now I am closing this module.